Welcome back, everybody. J2 Chance, welcome back for the third installment of this slideshow that we're walking through. If you haven't watched the first two, I recommend going back and watching those to see the first six tips here that were given for not just new home inspectors, but all inspectors kind of coming into this environment 2024. Thanks, guys, for doing this again. It's the best time of our week, right?
Always.
Absolutely.
Right on. All right, number 7. This one seems obvious, right, James? Like we could just say this and everyone would be like, "Cool, got it." Ask for reviews. But there's so much more to this, or else everyone would be doing it already. So, um, we'll intro with a little stat here. And James, I'm sure you have anecdotes of your own, but if you could just speak to like just how important reviews are.
Yeah. I mean, the way that we buy these days is we buy based off of social proof. And I would say, especially when it comes to anything associated with your home, you're letting somebody into your space or it's your future space. You know how expensive it can be if you bring somebody to inspect your home that misses things. So there is so much trust that goes into a relationship. And the way, whether it makes sense or not, that we sort of build trust with vendors these days, a lot of times is by looking at reviews and looking at, if you think about it, you could sit down with a home inspector, have a great conversation with them, all those things, and feel fairly comfortable with them. But the thing that will usually push you over the edge is kind of the background check, which these days means going in and looking at reviews. So even though you don't know anyone who's leaving those reviews, there's a general assumption that they're going to be mostly true and a good representation of what you're going to get when you work with somebody. And I think this number at the bottom is really crazy if you think about it. It's a 3.3 is a minimum star rating of a business for a consumer to consider engaging going to. I was thinking about this the other night when I was looking at restaurants on Yelp. It's like if you get somebody 4.5 or greater, maybe I consider it, but anything less than that, and anything under 4 especially, you just don't even want to go with them. And so like this 3.3 is even lower than that, right? Like you may have a little bit of more space than when I'm picking a restaurant, but still you're in a situation where bad reviews can hurt you. So obviously you want to be doing everything possible right when you're doing the home inspection, but also you want to stack the cards in your favor. So when you have a good home inspection, you got to get a review, especially early on. Make sure every time you're going in and trying to ask for a review, ask multiple times. We kind of talk through all that. But yeah, it's so critical to your business.
I would venture to say we need to, I like maybe this 3.3. I can't remember when we pulled the stat if it was in a crowded competitive market. Okay, maybe it's a little lower, but like, or higher, you could argue too. So I'd venture to say the new norm is 4.0. Like,
Yeah.
you got to stay above that. Some markets, people hate everything and it's lower, but with home inspection, from what I've seen, 4.0 and above. So we could break down this page for a second here, Chance. I know you've talked to home inspectors quite a bit on the bubble, and now as an account manager, but this is just illustrating that we didn't have to be at the top of this page against our two competitors to get more click-throughs. And maybe you can just break down a little bit as to why. Because like as a human eye scanning this, we have to think like consumers, right?
Nope. No, it's one of those, you look at the rating, obviously 4.0 and up is what we're kind of aiming for. So the ratings there, the reviews, you can be a 5.0, but do you have 5 reviews, or are you a 4.8 with 500 reviews? So you got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt, don't just give it a quick once over, but kind of dig in and think about it. And honestly, click in the reviews. I always, as a consumer, I love clicking the worst reviews to see what some people say, because sometimes they're not even bad reviews. They're just petty people who had a bad time and it was nothing to do with the inspector. So don't be scared of bad reviews. Also, I would encourage you to respond with them and say, hey, I'm sorry this went your way or didn't go your way. How can I improve or help? And it shows, empathy. And that's what a lot of folks take into consideration, is that you are accountable and that you're willing to fix mistakes, because we all make them.
Yeah. And I bet a lot of inspectors watching this are new or in their first year, second year, third year, even, and maybe look at the Google rankings and say, man, how am I ever going to catch these companies or these guys that are up there? And I can assure you that with consistency and relentlessness asking, you start climbing that mountain. And we did it at Spectora since the early days. We used to look at the competitors and say, God, we're never going to catch them. But you just keep asking and keep showing up. And it does snowball at a certain point. So don't want anyone to get discouraged when they Google in their area and see the multi-inspector company with 20 guys has 1,000 reviews. It's like you got to start competing. This is an interesting one, James, because you mentioned the restaurant analogy, and like I think that might be a good one to even use as an analogy with this of like long term. If the inspectors watching want to charge more, what better proof is there than the certainty that it's going to be a good experience, right? So like take us through your mind when it comes to either restaurants or anything else when you're like, I'll pay a little more.
Yeah, I think when you think of home buyers, you're going to have people of all types, right? You're going to have people that are out there trying to save as much money as possible, but you're probably going to have a large amount of people, especially if you're in a more competitive market, that are folks that may lean slightly more towards almost like the luxury feel, right? And those are the people that are going to spend a little bit more money for something if it makes them feel more comfortable, if they feel like they're going with a proven vendor. We can all go buy pants at Walmart, but for some reason, people are still out there buying expensive pants at Nordstrom, right? There's a feeling that there's going to be more quality, that there's going to be a better service component, whatever that may be, that goes with it. And so, by having those good reviews, people are willing to part with some more of their money just to have the opportunity to reduce the chance of something bad happening. And I think when I think about myself and my buying behavior, I would say, I am telling myself the story in the back of my head of like what could go right and what could go wrong before I buy something. I think Chance was dead on. I'm the same guy. I like love going to the 1-star reviews and just being like, okay, let me see all the things that could possibly go wrong with this. And if I'm willing to like get through those issues, or I feel like I could get some sort of remedy, then I'll still go with that. But yeah, I mean, people out there understand that sometimes you have to pay a little bit more for quality. Hopefully, in the way that you position yourself and your website and in your marketing, they can really see that you are more delivering more of a premium service, even if it's just at a slightly higher price. And that's things like your website are going to help you do that. Your relationships with agents are going to help you do that. But just make sure that you understand long term, these great reviews are going to lead you to being able to charge more. And what's better than that, I guess, at the end of the day, in an industry that sometimes has a problem upping their prices, like those reviews will get you into a little bit more of that rarefied air where you can charge more.
Well said. And we've all spoken to larger companies that their average inspection price is 600, 700, 800. And guess what? They all have a ton of good Google reviews. So there's definitely a correlation there. Just today, I was shopping. I was getting estimates on a little bumper fix on my car because I had a little run in with the side of my garage, but we won't talk about that. And I got 2 different estimates. I went with the higher one because they were higher rated, had more reviews. I think it was only 0.1 or 0.2 higher stars. But to some of our other points in this presentation, they had texting, they had a quick like estimate process, higher reviews. So I went with them, and I was willing to even kick out the solution a little longer. So in real time, it's cool to see that, to say like, I want to be more assured of a good experience, therefore I'll pay a little. Chance, inspectors often think they're bugging people. That's what they always say. I don't want to bug people. I don't want to ask too much. What if they already left me a review? Like, what do you say to
that? It's 2 thoughts. Like, I understand you don't want to be a salesman or spammy or something like that. I can respect that. But honestly, people don't mind. And especially if you help them just get their dream home, they're very appreciative. If you did a bang up job, like I know most of you guys do, like a review's not a big deal. I will share a little secret that I learned almost a year ago, and I'll never forget it. An inspector offers a $100 gift card, but to get that, you got to go to his social media, like and follow him, and then give him a review. He submits in a pot. He gives a video once a month. Everyone wins a $100 gift card to Starbucks. So he's spending $100 to generate 100 reviews. So it's J2. Maybe you can speak to the price of it, but I find that kind of cheap.
I mean, it's super cheap. It's super cheap, and I think that's like, that tiny bit of incentivization is a really interesting idea. I have during the pandemic times, I had a lot of issues with my neck. Never been to a chiropractor before. Went and found the one nearby with the best ratings, and he had couple thousand reviews, which I thought was insane. And then I went and I started getting treated by him, and over the course of a couple months, my neck was feeling amazing and a lot better. But at the as we started making any progress at the end of every session, he would ask me if I would leave a review if I feel like he's doing a good job. And the incentivization on that was like a t-shirt, which turned out to be like the worst quality t-shirt you can possibly think of. It wasn't even like, give it to your spouse to wear when they're sleeping. It was like scratchy and bad. But every single time he asked, and then eventually I started seeing why this guy was a monster at reviews online and why he had the flow of business he did, is because he was asking every single time. Did it get a little bit annoying from time to time? Yeah, maybe, but that's part of building the relationship to begin with. If you can build a solid relationship in the process of going through that home inspection, asking won't be so hard. And hopefully they won't take as long as I took for my chiropractor to leave a good review, because I was just kind of waiting for my head to fall off at some point or something. But, incentivize a little bit, but ask. It's such an important part of your business. And like Chance said, if you could spend $1 a review, like I'd do that all year. That's it's the
all
simplest,
day.
the best marketing spend I could possibly think of.
And I would say if you're insecure about asking too much, evaluate why and think about like how much confidence do you have in the client experience you're offering? Is it your knowledge? Is it because you're new? And there's ways to work around those things. I've heard new inspectors basically not announce that they're brand new, but let people know that like, hey, I've been in construction 20 years, done 5, 10 inspections, but I've seen thousands of houses. So don't even worry. And then they ask for a review to kind of like take the edge off. Cause I know the typical fear is I've only done 1 inspection or 5. What if I screw it up and ask for a review? But I think asking for a review in an automated way levels you up in a sense. It sets an expectation high.
Just one other thing on that, just real quick. I think, and this is, up to you if you want to do this, but I know a lot of businesses when they first start out and, to make it fully legit, go to a friend's house and do some home inspections. Like go to your friends and then have them leave you a review. It doesn't have to be a paid thing. You went and you did an inspection. If they had a good experience with it, that could seed things at least. And it is, I will say, hard to get that first review. So find creative ways to do that. I have friends, my spouse, they've started businesses that are in kind of the home services world. And that's kind of the first step, is like work for some friends or family and get those reviews first. It'll kind of get you off the blocks. And again, I think the more reviews you have, the easier it is to get more reviews.
Love it. Charge them $1 if you want it to feel like a legit transaction. Charge them $1.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a good call. Mentioning it on site, it's a hard thing to do because we're all tech, in this tech enabled world. It's easier to send an email or text. But Chance, you're a good connection guy. Everyone likes you. Everyone likes Chance. That's just how it goes. But like when you look someone in their eye, you shake their hand, you connect, right? And I think you have a special ability to do that. But like, I don't know if you can just encourage inspectors or tell them anything to say, like, just make sure it's part of your process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get good at it and practice it. I mean, if any of you guys are athletes or fishermen out there, you had to practice at it to get good. So I kid you not, look yourself in the mirror at night and practice it 10 times before you go to bed. Get comfortable talking to yourself. And when you talk to someone in person, it's going to be muscle memory. You don't have to think about it. You're not going to have to force it. It's there.
Oh, it's great advice. It's great advice. Underrated. And yeah, we all feel weird talking to ourselves in the mirror, but like get those bad reps out, like at home or to your spouse or whatever, and then or your kids, dog, whatever. So yeah, mention it on site before and after. And this will tie to the automation piece in a second, but like we Inspectora, you can dictate when these emails go out. So James, that's the beauty of being able to say, hey, in a couple of days, you're going to get an email. And then it's just, then the person's looking out for it, maybe even subconsciously. But yeah, maybe you could just speak to the power of automation in general.
Yeah, I mean, automation is sort of the superpower for a small business. If you're actually out there automating things, it's like a force multiplier. You just look a lot bigger than you actually are. And it looks like you have your stuff together. I think that's the other thing, is we have to keep remembering that the bar keeps going up for sort of service and communication around service. And so having automation built into your business to begin with is incredibly important. And then when it comes to things like getting reviews, it does two things. First, it allows you to not have to go through the mental cycle of like, okay, now I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to call this person, I'm going to like go through all of it, and just the pressure that that kind of sometimes puts on you. And also, you're not going to forget it. So it will just happen automatically. And that's really what you want, is these things happening automatically while you're doing other more valuable work. And so these reviews are super valuable, but if you can automate part of it, completely worth it. And I think what you said there, Kevin, that is really important and something to remember whenever you're kind of sending anyone a series of emails is, in that series of emails, open the door and let them know you're probably going to get another email about this if you don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not going to be shocked and feel like it's super annoying. You're kind of like saying, hey, I'll be back. I'll be asking again. So don't be shocked when you see the next email. So just easy ways to kind of bridge and soften what I think some of you may get sort of nervous about automation. Really try to think about how you make automated messages more human and make them just clear about what their purpose is and what they're trying to accomplish and what's going to happen next. And all that will make those emails work better, and also probably just make you feel better about what you're sending out in an automated way.
Oh, I love this. I love this so much. So like, now I'm just thinking, now we're just brainstorming on the fly here of like how to almost disguise your second or third review ask by maybe sending them an article on upkeep for their home, on like 6 things to do in the spring on your new home. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't left a review yet, I would really appreciate it. We're a small business. So like it's almost an afterthought, but it's still in there, And so there's creative ways to do that.
And real quick, don't forget to bold this thing at the bottom. How often does your eyes just scan over plain text? Put that leave a review in a bold, catch their eye. I think James mentioned in his marketing webinar. These little tips and tricks can learn where you can draw their eyes to. Make sure they see that. Don't just leave it in plain text at the bottom that I can kind of gloss over.
Love it. And then text down here. We didn't even talk about text messages. Make sure to do it through text, because some people are only on their phones and it's got to be a link that can go through. Yep. Guilty. And I would venture to say some people, it increases their likelihood to leave you a review for the sheer fact it comes through on their text. Maybe they never check their emails. So don't be afraid of text. Ask in person, tee it up, let them know they're going to receive it, ask multiple times, get over that hurdle, and then think about language like these guys referred to on how to show awareness that you're asking multiple times, and then kind of setting their expectations. We could probably talk about reviews for a whole hour, but we'll leave that for another day. All right. Texting. Who's buying homes? Can't talk about it enough. Yep. So yeah, investors, bankers, and maybe some young people, if they can still afford it. So just remember the audience. That's all we're saying, right? Is keep in mind, we're not just necessarily talking about this year or next year. Like anyone that's listening probably wants to be in the business for 5 or 10 years, right? And so we have to kind of skate to where the puck is going in that sense. So we don't have to hammer this home too much unless you guys have other thoughts on millennials, Gen Z, and texting.
I mean, I think most people know it's kind of like sending an email or leaving a voicemail these days. For a lot of people, is almost one of the most offensive things you could possibly do to them. It's text is where communication happens for younger generations, right? And as someone who fought a valiant fight to never text for a number of years, I've also realized it is a superior method of communication. So I'm on board, but yeah, it is like, especially leaving voicemails or just making phone calls to people. Sometimes in this younger group, they don't even like that. So text is where it's at.
My poor parents, they leave me voicemails all the time, and they just sit, and then they'll text me, and then we have a conversation. So
sounds familiar.
Yeah, they're not watching, but I'm sorry. I think reminders, we're used to it. Do you guys get dental or, doctor, dentist, mechanic? Like every profession is doing it. And so like, we can't pound the table enough. I know for those of you watching that do it, you're maybe saying duh, but Chance, to me, it's like, if it's the difference too, like looking at this reminder text of someone not knowing for sure when the inspection is, or just seeing that, and to James's point, oh man, they're professional. Guy took the time to write me a text, even if it's automated, still impressive, right?
He has the tools to be a professional. He invested in himself and his business. So it builds credibility.
Huge. And there's not just reminders and confirmations. I mean, we're talking upsells, follow-ups, review as I mean, there's so many things that you could do to add value. If you're using Spectora Advanced, that's for another webinar, but there are text messages you can send 11 months later to say, hey, did you look at these 6 tips to kind of prepare for spring or the new year or whatever? You literally can use it for anything. So to me, it's this like precious communication method, James, where you have like a captive audience where you can get their attention literally whenever you want. We just can't abuse it or waste it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's it. Like the abusing part's the bad part. I think knowing like the having the message to say, type stop to end text, all that kind of stuff. Really good to give people an easy way to opt out so they don't get frustrated on that end. But yeah, I mean, you think about any service that you have, they're sending these texts too. That can be from like, a big car dealership. They're sending texts. So you're up there on the technology level with those guys when you're sending out text messages. And also the other thing too, and this is something not to be afraid of, is everything we have listed here feels like it's kind of something that can be automated. There's also just sending texts after you do the inspection, a one-to-one text. Hey, really write the thing. I really enjoyed meeting you. Put in a little comment about, something funny about the house you looked at, or something about their family loving the house when they move into it. Just something nice like that to really show you care. Again, you don't have to pick up the phone. You don't have to type an email. You could just do that through text. And it'll just, again, show that you're kind of the next step beyond what they expect. You're doing something over and above.
I love that so much of in a world of automation going the other direction and just saying like, what about a genuine check-in text? Like you ever get one of those from a friend, family? You're just like, man, you have no idea how much I needed that or wanted that. And so if you're doing less than like 30 inspections a month, I think you can find the 2 minutes tops to peck out a text message. I know home inspectors always say they have fat fingers, so maybe it takes a little longer, but whatever. You send it over email, send it via text. I think we cannot assume, I think anyone uses any particular medium nowadays, because you'd be shocked, man. I used to know realtors that were 70 years old, all about text and video and social media. And then, there's some young old people too that don't want to text. You just never know. So the mindset shift, add it everywhere you use email, and gosh, you can use it to sell more services or just check in on people, for the genuine, hey, how is it going? Because that genuine care can go a long way. Because I know we talk a lot of tactics, right, guys? But like just kind of giving a bleep, kind of matters too.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing too, I think Chancey kind of hinted towards this is like that 11 months later, maybe it was you, Kevin, but like sending a message 11 months later, especially on a new build, to have like another inspection on that new build after 1 year, just to make sure everything's going good. I mean, I would do that. Like I would sign up for that for sure, just to see if you're coming towards the end of a home warranty or anything like that. I mean, right there, you could have a whole new inspection just from sending a couple messages.
2 for 1. Yeah. And new builds are going to be coming with interest rates where they're at this current time. We're recording, 7-8%. New builds are on the way, and you got to be marketing to do new builds. All right, let's get even more millennial with video. So Chance, to like talk to me just about video in your day-to-day life and just what it means, like how a millennial views video, period.
Yeah. No, it's I think we grew up with those tools, Zoom and all that was kind of as I was going through it. So yeah, we just learned that you don't dial the phone like this anymore. It's not I don't know, I forgot what you call it, but it's not a round table to call. It's you push a button, you see the face, you can interact, you can, it's just the future.
And James, we can talk about, I mean, it's not as relevant, but just the fact that social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, they're all promoting short form video, right? Like you and I see it when we look at like who gets the ad spaces, what gets promoted in the feed, it's video, right? And so like, is that a signal to inspectors of like, dude, you're missing the boat if you're not thinking about video?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about a social media company, what are they trying to get you to do? They're trying to get you to stay on that website and consume, right? It's about consumption. And as you consume, as you scroll through Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, sorry, X, as you scroll, there's ads, and those ads go by, and that's how they're making money, right? So they want things that people are able to absorb really quickly and then move on. Video, especially short form video, is exactly that. The other thing, when you think of, and this is a little bit more LinkedIn focused a bit, but LinkedIn really wants to keep everybody's information, like keep you very much on the website. So instead of linking out to stuff, if you just start creating video and you're putting the content right there on a platform like LinkedIn, which is a little less, necessary, I think, for home inspectors. But when you look at Instagram or any of those, people like short video. Give me the information. Don't make me read. Let me get on with my life. If I don't like what you're saying, I'll scroll 2 seconds later. Like it's unfortunately, I find myself consuming so much media, and it's just because it's been made into so many little bite-sized chunks. I just can't stop myself.
Same. I'm a YouTube Shorts guy nowadays. Video sells. This is an example here. We'll actually link to it in the description of the actual video, of Casey kind of getting himself on video, and just conveying his message. So to me, Chance, we could walk through these ways to put video on the websites. Do any of these jump out to you of like, dude, every inspector should be doing this, or any of them just as good things to do?
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I think this was back in video 1 or 2. Like you don't need to go out and spend $2,000 on a camera or a company. He picked up his iPhone and he recorded probably 10 minutes in the backyard of the sun. You're real, you're authentic. It's still professional grade. Our devices still take really good videos these days. So you don't have to invest a lot, just a little bit of time.
I love it. Articulating values, conveying your background, expertise. Everyone has a good story. I truly believe that is everyone has something to tell and something they can promote, and just be genuine. Like Chance said, I think the authenticity wins. Don't try to be anything you're not. Jump on and get those reps in. And James, like we're like marketers, right? We're all marketers and salespeople to some degree. Talk about like the leverage of video. It sounds simple and it sounds like a silly concept, but like you're literally replicating yourself to more than one person as opposed to coffee meeting to coffee meeting to coffee meeting.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, when you think of like this video that Casey has, you're watching it, you're seeing him sit out by his pool. He's explaining who he is, why he does what he does. And guess what happens when Casey shows up on site and somebody's watched this video? Your relationship's already begun. They think they already know you. Casey never had to make a phone call. He never had to send a text. He may have automatedly sent this video out to folks. But suddenly it's like, Casey, tell me about that swimming pool. Is that your house?
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's what I thought the first time I saw it. I'm like, is he at somebody's house? Is that his house? That's a pretty cool pool. I want to sit in that pool. That'd be great, right? Like those kinds of things. When we start, there's kind of a concept in marketing. It's all about storytelling, right? And kind of my favorite book ever is called All Marketers Are Liars by Seth Godin. And it really, the whole point of this book is saying that if you're doing marketing, basically your job is just to tell people the story that they're telling themselves in their own head. And so by using video like this, you're almost like creating that story in their head before you show up, that when you arrive and you come off as like, hey, this is a genuine person. They're nice. This isn't a Spielberg level production. He's a working guy trying to get stuff done. And then you show up, and they've kind of told themselves that story based off of your video. You're already set up for success. And I think especially as a new inspector, you're going to be nervous. It's going to, your first few reps, you're going to be a little freaked out. Like this is the kind of stuff that can set you up to be more comfortable because they're going to be more comfortable with you. So it is that force multiplier. Once again, it's just something that you can use over and over and over again. We do it with new hires here. We have there was a company retreat. I don't know how many interviews we do where that company retreat gets brought up because we have that as a part of our hiring area of our website. And so when people watch that video, they feel like they know us, and they really they're better interview candidates for us just because they kind of are more comfortable in what they're walking into. So do the same. Make that video of yourself. Doesn't have to be perfect, like the guys said. Just make it. And you can always update it, once you get that pool put into your backyard, and then you can be like Casey and do your pool video. But, if you got a hot tub or if you got a baby pool, like do what you got to do, get the video made, get it out there.
Love it. Video in reports. Actually, I want to go back. So I think there's another important point here, and I want each of you to speak to this because it's a very real thing. Like anytime any of us hit record or put our face on video, we feel a little vulnerability, right? Because we're putting our face on there. We are trying to make a connection. We are trying to convey information. Do you guys have any tips or, frameworks or mentality shifts for inspectors that kind of, like, especially a new inspector probably feels very vulnerable, but like, can you speak to maybe like vulnerability building that connection? It's like the point. It's like a good thing, right? So I don't know if Chance, you have any thoughts around that of just being vulnerable in general can be a good sales like reason to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think bringing that vulnerability, and Kevin and I talked to you and I talked about this, I don't know, like a month ago, I think, of like putting yourself out there and being on video. When you look at that video, you're going to see like 8 things about yourself that you don't love. That's just the way it works. The reality is no one's going to notice that stuff unless you're doing something incredibly wacky. Like and they'll probably notice things you never noticed about yourself and maybe have issues with those. But the things that you notice, they'll probably they're never going to see. So, that's one thing. And it's just kind of, there's a bit of a Nike methodology to this of just do it, like get on camera. You might do a few takes. That's okay. But the more you try, I think the more comfortable you get. And I think that does open you up eventually to just being more vulnerable, of being able to just share as you. So that practice might be part of it. Like have your friend, have your spouse, have your dog sit across from you, or cat or turtle or whatever you got. And, practice the video a few times and just try to get a little bit comfortable in your skin. I can guarantee you Kevin's made 18 billion videos for home inspectors and on the podcast. I'm sure Kevin's not always 100% comfortable every single day, but eventually you just kind of get over it and you're just you. And the more work you can do to get there and the more practice, it's going to get better and better.
Yeah, it's a superpower for sure. It's like a superpower just to, like you said, just do it and let your guard down and not be a perfectionist. We're all too hard on ourselves as humans in general. And so it's kind of just letting it fly. And Chance, like I love doing this kind of content with you guys because we all are putting ourselves out there trying to put some value into the world and hopefully connects and resonates with people, right?
Oh, absolutely. And like they hit on, you are your own worst critic. Don't take it too hard. Don't take it too serious. When I talk to you guys, I'm nervous in these webinars. You guys are intimidating. I don't know anything about like home inspections or anything like that. Like I'm scared. I just envision me talking to my buddies at a bar and we're just shooting the shit and we're learning about life and we're sharing ideas and experiences. So just put yourself in a good mindset too. You're not talking to a Fortune 500 company. You're talking to a buddy at a bar.
Love it. Love it. All right. Reports or video in reports. This was apparently revolutionary 5, 6, 7 years ago. A lot of inspectors now use it all the time. Some still don't. I admit I still see some inspectors that are either leery of it or don't think it can do as good a job, or just maybe are a little scared of it. So I don't know if you guys had videos in your home inspection reports, but like, what have you heard from inspectors or even clients or agents when it comes to showing a leaky toilet right here?
I was talking to one person who ended up, Corey Seawright, who ended up being on the podcast. And he said he gets business because he does video. And in his area, people aren't doing video with their home inspection reports. The real estate agents love it because their clients love it, but also the agents love it because agents, I think, kind of tend to go towards video. It's very rare, especially when you get into higher end real estate, there isn't some video associated with a real estate sale. So, just for him, he said, I make videos. I just kind of talk over and quickly explain what everything is. It makes the home buyer feel so much better because it's not just trying to read some words and understand what a picture is. Like even this example we have going here with just like the fingers touching whatever this thing is and pulling on it, showing that it's loose or whatever they're trying to, showing that it's loose. I mean, that's what you like, that gives you the whole picture and the whole story. And so I think you feel more confident that this person knows what they're doing because you're seeing them do the thing that they do. So Yeah, 100%. If I was a full-time home inspector, I would be doing video as much as possible.
And it's liability protection. We've done 2 episodes with the elite MGA guys. One of them's a lawyer, one of the most prominent lawyers in the space. And he was like, high def pictures and high def video are almost indisputable because people can't say they misinterpreted the words like they can with big blocks of text, right? If it's 3 paragraphs, they can be like, oh, I didn't interpret that the way you interpret it. We're sitting here looking at a toilet tank that's loose. There's no disputing that.
Well said.
For remote clients, Chance, I don't think we talk about this enough of kind of like not every like there's been a lot of moving since COVID. Let's state the obvious. And there's a lot of inspectors we talk to who half their clients sometimes aren't even in the state.
Yep.
So like talk to me there about the importance of video.
Yeah, again, it's like you said, it's those videos within the report. You're taking them on a 3D virtual home tour. Like talk about 5-star top-notch service. I'm leaving a review for that guy every time. Like that was amazing. And yeah, it is like, Colorado, lots of people are in California and New York. They don't got time to waste here. They'll buy stuff sight unseen. So your home inspection report, if you can go through the house with them and give them a real look, that's going to make a sale and that's going to make the agent really happy.
Yeah. And previously, maybe as an inspection, you're like, oh, I never met the person, sent them a report, never heard from them again. But to James's point, you make a connection if you set up a Zoom or FaceTime for 10 minutes to ask them what's important to them. And investors too, they care about this stuff too. So like James said, just do it. We'll have to change that to just do it with a Nike swoosh there. But the bar's low in our industry. Like you guys said, this isn't, performing, heart surgery or some like epic movie. It's just not that serious. So get on camera, show who you are, and then use it in reports. All right. Some Spectora bread and butter here. Web-based report. The report is your product. I think a lot of new inspectors that I've talked to over the years, Chance, some of them think, oh, just software, right? The report's the report.
Yeah, no, it's one of those. You can have inspector A and B have the same experience, the same exact report, but if you put me in a black and white PDF or an interactive report with videos, pictures, colors, I'm like a moth to a flame, man. I'm going to go to that pictures of videos every time.
Yeah, and I think it's everyone now. It's like I know we highlighted the demographic here, but my dad uses Facebook. He's used to pictures and scrolling and high def stuff. So I think it's no longer even just generational. I think it's just where we're at that your report has to scream modern, usable, interactive. I think there's just no getting away from that. And so I think, James, I don't think inspectors promote this enough because to like what you were saying about Corey C, right? We can't assume everyone in your market uses video, uses Spectora, right? I mean, these are real competitive advantages. If you walk in an agent's office, you're off to the races.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, if you're coming in and meeting with a new agent, and you're explaining what makes you different, and to be able to say, all my reports are interactive, they're web-based, they're laid out in a fantastic way. The agent very well may know if you just say it's a Spectora report, they might know and appreciate that. And then that's the above and beyond, right? Like, let's say that being a report as good as Spectora reports is sort of the base level standard for the agent you're talking to, then that video is the next level. And be able to say, look, I make videos of any defects that I find, and I explain exactly what happens, if they don't repair it, how they may, what the route is to get that repaired, if that's a DIY or that's a hire somebody or just a handyman, and really just, hammer home, like this isn't a piece of paper we're handing off. and also because, hopefully you feel like this shouldn't just be a piece of paper you hand off. This shouldn't just be a transaction where you're just like, here's a bad, a bad report that has enough stuff on it that you're fine. You should be proud you're handing over your work and your expertise, and it gets productized into a report. So, starting a new business, ask yourself, like, how do you want to come off? Do you want to come off like you cut some corners, or do you want to come off like you decided to have the best in the business? If it costs you a few bucks more, I'd go with best in the business all day. Yeah.
And the future is interactive, web-based. We're not going to tease too much, but there are features and things you will be able to turn on and enable for your clients in a web-based report. You can't do that if it's just a PDF. So like, I know that's an obvious one, but some inspectors I think still need to hear that definition of a PDF is static and it just gets stamped out once. Whereas we've popped in features overnight and inspectors have seen it in an interactive experience. And so that's the ability to be mobile and agile. Here's just the difference. This is a real report on the left, guys. This was a inspector I used to use once upon a time, about 9-10 years ago when I was a realtor. This is a screenshot. I will not out him. He's not watching this anyway. He's never switching. But I mean, gosh, Chance, talk to me about the differences here when you talk about the moth to a flame. Like,
Oh, I'm overwhelmed to the left. I feel nauseous. I don't know what. I want the right. I can tell I'm looking at a roof already. I've just looked at the pictures. I don't need to do anything else. And that's my house. Like it's just easier for me to digest. It might seem a little overwhelming if you're not familiar with a web-based report, but to your buyers, to me, that is less overwhelming than the other one.
and if you're going into an agent office, James, like, why not have a slide just like this to say, hey, if your current inspector uses one on the left, how do you filter for the most important defects to ask for concessions on? Like the red must do's, how would you pick those out? Whereas with me, it's one click right there on the defect safety button. So like we're kind of giving them marketing ammunition, right? At the end of the day, this isn't just use Spectora. It's more like market this.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful. And again, if you get into real estate, I feel like the goal many times is to be a luxury real estate agent of some sort. And that experience comes with a lot of things, right? That comes with driving around in the fancy car when you have your clients in there. It comes with, dressing nice and getting your pictures taken every 3 months, looking super hot and fine, right? But also, don't be the step that drops the ball on this, where you're dropping off this, terrifying PDF-ish report that doesn't even match the brand standards of the agents themselves. So, and the other thing that I'll say, and it's like the smallest thing that you can do in reporting software, but I also think it's so important. I would have no idea what's going on with those 3 pictures on the right if it wasn't for those arrows. Like, just being able to do good, if you're not even doing a video, just make sure the arrow's pointed, like is there, and it's pointed to the right thing, and your description's clear. It's going to make a homeowner feel like they know what the heck's going on the left. I wouldn't know what to do. My question would be, should I buy the house or not, to my realtor? And then that'd be it.
That's
the
a
one
great
on the
point.
left, I'm going to call you up and I'm going to waste 45 minutes of your day so that you can explain to me what I'm looking at. The one on the right, I'm not going to bother you because I know how to navigate it. So that's another thing is a better web report will save you time, not on the phone with me.
I love that you said that, because no doubt I called that guy every single time, because I did a handful of inspections with him, and every time I remember vividly it was like a phone call walking through it. And now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I probably hated that, but I'm also
sure.
like, it's also his fault. So I'm like, that's not him. Ain't my fault. Here's another example. This one's just more about presentation value too, and simplicity. We talk a lot about that here at Spectora. You guys know, you've probably both been asked for us to change a million things about our reports. And, I don't know if the one on the left is a result of mixing and matching colors. And, James, maybe you could talk to the design aesthetic a little, because I know you have a good eye for that, but it's just not the same.
Yeah. There is, whether we know it or not, there's modern standards of design. And if you're on the internet, you run into them all the time, right? There's use of white space. There's, keeping fonts kind of pulled together, keeping colors consistent, all those. There's a lot of little things, and web designers and graphic designers out there, like, they deserve so much respect, because to do this stuff is really, really hard. And over time, we get used to, the thing on the right looks like, if you're going to a website, what you'd expect a website. Like, that report looks like what you see on the internet. The thing on the left can live on the internet, but it looks like what lived on the internet back in the day. Like, that definitely reminds me of, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, very early internet layout and design. And again, that reflects on you. Like, if you're, especially millennials, they're going to laugh at you, man. Like, they're going to show their friends, like, look at how ugly this website is, quote unquote website, which is your report. You don't want to be in that situation. And you also want to make sure like it's your credibility that's on the line. And if your report looks bad, they may not believe that you know what you're doing. And going back to the start of this conversation, your chance of getting a good review is going to go down if you got the report on the left. I guarantee that.
That's a good point. It's the last thing you leave them with, and then you're like asking for a review.
Yeah.
Doesn't set you up well. Mobile. Use technology to get in front of agents. Grant kind of the table on that. Yeah. So to me, web-based PDFs are hard to read. Pinch and zoom, making things easy to understand and making it easy to use. We didn't even get into the repair request builder. That's a feature on the web-based reports that allows your agents and clients to pick out the defects to send to the seller's agent to ask for concessions. It's a time saver for them. We have more content on that, but just things that make their life easier and makes everything easier for you. All right, guys, this has been great. I think this is the last slide of just, we talked about quality at every step. And of course, we're ending with, with the Don Bill. Shout out to Papa Bill. But guys, thank you for joining on this. I think this is going to be great content for everyone. Definitely let us know, write in the comments or write into us if you have questions on any of this or want us to maybe drill down into any of these topics. Because I mean, guys, we could talk about any of these probably for an hour at a time. They're all so important and have details that I think inspectors need to hear. So any parting words, guys, as we send off inspectors into the wild?
I mean, speaking of talking forever, come hit us up on the chat bubble. We're always there. Get a hold of your account manager. They'll hop on with you for 30 minutes and shoot the BS. And then we'll also talk to you about any of this that you have questions on. So don't be afraid to get in touch with us. We're here for you. We love talking with you. So schedule it. Do it. Hey, just do it.
And I would just say Spectora Spotlight. You're seeing it on the screen now. Anywhere you can get a podcast and download it, you can download it there. What I'll say is this: is every time I listen to those episodes, all these people are great inspectors. There's no doubt about that. They're really good at going into people's homes and into businesses and doing their inspections. What I'm always shocked by is what deep thinkers when it comes to business that these folks are, and really how much brain space that they save to think about their business and how to grow their business and what their business actually means. Is this me building myself a career and not a business, or am I building a business? All these questions that, Kevin has the opportunity to kind of get with these folks and ask. But, I would just really, as a new inspector, Spectora Spotlight, just start going through the episodes as you're driving around, as you're, exercising, sitting in your house, whatever it may be. It's going to be really inspirational. And I think you'll get a nugget out of, many nuggets out of every episode that will hopefully make your transition from being a brand new inspector to an experienced inspector go a lot faster and a lot smoother. So, fill your head with the good stuff. And I say the good stuff is the Spectora Spotlight.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for sharing your expertise, your time, knowledge. Great stuff.
All right. Thank you.
All right, y'all.